Hi friends, today let us start 9.5 chapter in paper 1, that is race. In our syllabus in 9.5 chapter they mentioned many topics, but all the topics can be discussed under four broad heads. They are concept of race, role of environment in the formation of races, racial criteria and racism. Some topics are mentioned in our syllabus like this: the relationship between racial traits and environment and heredity, racial differentiation and racial crossing, biological basis of variations. Like this they mentioned some other topics, but they will also be discussed under these topics. Whenever we are discussing these topics, automatically we will be discussing those topics also. That's why all the topics which are there in this chapter are broadly divided into four concepts. One is the concept of race, second one is role of environment in the formation of races, racial criteria and racism. First, let us discuss the concept of race. While discussing racial classification, I told you a race is nothing but a group of people characterized by the presence of a set of similar physical characteristics. With respect to a particular set of physical characteristics, there will be similarities in all the members of a population. Then that population is called one race. Consider certain characters. One is height, second one is color of the skin, third one is nose, fourth one is hair. With respect to this set of physical characteristics, in the Negroid people, African people, we can come across short stature, dark color skin, platy-rain nose, and scanty hair over the body. Scanty hair over the body. With respect to this set of physical characteristics, they have similarities. That's why all those people who are in the Africa can be categorized under one race. That is nothing but Negroid race. Similarly, if you go to Europe, in the Europe the environment is cold. That's why in order to survive in that environment, they will have certain changes in their, they had certain changes in their body. With respect to height, they have tall stature, they have light color skin, they have leptorine nose, abundant hair over the body. With respect to this set of physical characteristics, they have similarities. That's why the European people can be categorized as one race. They are generally called as Caucasides. Caucasides. Like this, all those people who have similar physical characteristics, they can be categorized as one race. Now, whenever we have a set of similar physical characteristics, definitely in our body the concerned genes must be there. Why? Because each and every character is controlled by one gene. That's why here, with respect to height, the shortness causing genes are more in number. With respect to height in Negroid people, in Caucasoids, the tallness causing genes are more in number. Both the genes are related to height only. With respect to the genes controlling height, there are two variations. One is coding for tall character and another one is coding for short character. So that is a gene. Height is a gene. With respect to height controlling gene, there are two variants. One is coding for tall character and another one is coding for short character. That's why in this population, the tallness causing genes are more in number. In this population, the shortness causing genes are more in number. That means there is gene frequency differences in these populations. Here, the tallness causing genes are more in number. When they are more in number, we can say that the frequency is more. The frequency of that particular gene. In this, the frequency of tall causing genes are very less, but the frequency of shortness causing genes are more in number. This way, there will be gene frequency differences. Remember this point. We'll discuss at a later point of time. Now, for your easy understanding, I can give definition like this. A race is nothing but a group of people characterized by the presence of a set of similar genes. Here, whenever we have a set of similar physical characteristics, definitely in our body the concerned genes must be there. And so all those people who are characterized by the presence of a set of similar physical characteristics must have a set of similar genes. Whenever we are writing answer to the concept of race, in Indian anthropology, you have to write the definition of race from the point of view of physical characters. But whenever you are writing answer to the concept of race in physical anthropology, you have to write answer from the biological perspective. Say, with respect to racial classification in Indian anthropology, you have to write like this: a race is nothing but a group of people characterized by the presence of a set of similar physical characteristics. But in physical anthropology, you have to write like this: a race is nothing but a group of people characterized by the presence of a set of similar genes. Here, the Caucasides, they have a set of similar genes. The Negroids, they have another set of similar genes. But with respect to frequency, here the tallness causing genes are more in number. Here, the shortness causing genes are more in number. That means the frequency is changing. They say there is one person by name Dobzhansky. Dobzhansky, he has given a definition like this. A race is nothing but a group of people. A group of people. Which is characterized by reproductive isolation. Which is characterized by reproductive isolation. That means they are isolated from the reproduction point of view. Because of this reproductive isolation, the exchange of genes between different populations will be less. That's why the exchange of genes is very less. That means a minimal or absent. Because of which the gene frequency differences are maintained. The gene frequency differences are maintained. Are not diminished. Are not diminished. See, African people are there, American people are there. Africans are not going to America to marry American people or European people. Similarly, European people are not coming to Africa to marry the American people. African people. There are a number of reasons. Once upon a time, because of lack of proper connectivity, migration of the people from one area to another area was very, very less. Even though there is migration because of globalization, they are maintaining reproductive isolation by having marriage within their own group only. Of course, exceptions are taking place here and there. That is called racial crossing. But most of the times, that reproductive isolation is maintained because of linguistic barriers, cultural barriers, or color-based barriers. That's why the whenever the reproduction between two people is controlled or prohibited, then that is called reproductive isolation. They are reproductively isolated. Biologically, there will not be any restriction, but socially, there will be restriction because of number of factors. Because of that reproductive isolation, the exchange of genes between two populations is minimized. If there are no color-based restrictions, country-based restrictions, language-based restrictions, and anyone can have a marriage with anyone, then there will be mating. Because of mating, there will be mixing of all the genes in the next generation. But in reality, it is not taking place. Nature is not distinguishing us, but we are following certain barriers. That's why because of that reproductive isolation, the exchange of genes between two populations is almost minimized. Now and then they are taking place, but the exchange of genes is very less or absent. Because of which those gene frequency differences are maintained. They have one set of genes, and another population, that means negroids, have one set of genes, and caucasoids, they have another set of genes, and those differences are maintained. Because of the maintenance of those differences, the European people, they have a set of similar physical characteristics, and African people, they have another set of similar physical characteristics. But this type of maintenance of a set of physical characteristics is possible because of reproductive isolation. Now, because of globalization, that reproductive isolation is gradually decreasing, and we can come across interracial marriages. That is nothing but racial crossing. Because of interracial marriages, the racial differences are gradually decreasing. Okay, whatever it may be. See, according to Dobzhansky, race is nothing but a group of people characterized by reproductive isolation, because of which the exchange of genes is minimized or almost absent, because of which again there will be maintenance of gene frequency differences. That's why he gave the definition like this: a race is nothing but a group of people which is reproductively isolated, such that the exchange of genes between one population and another population is almost nil or absent, because of which those gene frequency differences are not diminished or they are maintained. Once again I am repeating, race is nothing but a group of population which is reproductively isolated, such that the exchange of genes between that population and another population is minimized or absent, so that the gene frequency differences are maintained or not diminished. This is the definition given by Dobzhansky. You need not to remember this complicated definition, but if you can remember this definition, you can easily recollect the characteristics of race. A race is nothing but a group of people. A group of people. This is the first characteristic. For a race to be formed, there must be some people. That is the first characteristic. Second one is, and there must be reproductive isolation. There must be a reproductive isolation. Because of reproductive isolation, the exchange of genes is prevented or minimized, because of which the gene frequency differences are maintained. Gene frequency differences are maintained. Some genes which are in high frequency in one population may be very low in frequency in another population or another race. And the underlying basis for the origin of races is purely biological in nature. These racial differences are caused because of biological adjustments. Say it is basically a biological concept. It is basically a biological concept. Nowadays, our people changed the meaning of the concept of race. Certain people or certain races, they used to feel that they have superior color, superior blood, superior physic and mental capabilities, and superior culture. Say they used to feel that by birth they have superiority of color, purity of blood, superior physical and mental characteristics, and superior culture. Superior culture. That's why, based on this assumption, they started practicing superiority on the so-called inferior races. Unfortunately, in our society, there is more demand for white colored people when compared with the black colored people. Not always. That's why those white colored people acquired some sort of superiority feeling. So they started assuming that they are superior races by birth. And they started practicing superiority on the so-called inferior races. And they are committing number of atrocities socially, economically, politically. This bitter thinking is called racism. Nowadays, you can come across the instances of the practice of racism. I need not to tell you, in America it happened, and in many other countries also it is happening. But actually, the term race was coined in order to indicate a group of people characterized by the presence of a set of similar physical characteristics, which is because of a set of similar genes. But in due course of time, that biological concept was converted into social concept, and the so-called white colored people, they started assuming that they are superior, and they started committing atrocities on the so-called inferior races. That is called racism. But actually, race means it is nothing but a group of population characterized by the presence of a set of similar genes, and those gene frequency differences among different populations are because of genetic drift, mutation, natural selection, hybridization. Because of certain biological factors and biological processes, those gene frequency differences came into existence. That's why the concept of race is purely a biological concept. On the basis of the variations in the physical characteristics, we have divided all the races in our world into three major races. They are Caucasoids, Negroids, and Mongoloids. And there is, according to some other people, there is one more variety, that is Australoids. But these are the three major races. But there are many micro races also. What is meant by race? A race is nothing but a group of people characterized by the presence of a set of similar physical characteristics. That's why we can divide the people living in a particular region into micro races. Because of local environment, they may develop number of variations. Broadly, all the people are classified into three categories: Caucasoids, Negroids, and Mongoloids. Actually, in the so-called Negroids also, again there are number of variations. So it is not a fixed concept. Based on a set of physical characteristics, we are going to term a particular group of people as one race. Broadly, all the people are divided into three races, but there are many micro races also. Why? Because local environments influence the development of a particular set of physical characteristics. That's why if you take local factors into consideration, local environmental factors, we can divide the human beings into multiple races. Yes, the people living in Andhra, the people living in Karnataka, they can be divided into two different races. That is true, because they have differences with respect to a particular set of physical characteristics. That's why the meaning of race varies depending upon the set of characters taken by us in order to categorize a group of people under one race. Okay, whatever it may, this is only for your understanding, but for your exam, what is the meaning of race, what is the definition of race, and what are the characteristics of race. They are sufficient. What is the meaning of race? A race is nothing but a group of population characterized by the presence of a set of similar physical characteristics. From the physical anthropology perspective, it can be defined like this. It is nothing but a group of population characterized by the presence of a set of similar genes. According to our Dobzhansky, the definition is different, but underlying meaning is same. A race is nothing but a group of people which is reproductively isolated such that the exchange of genes between that population and another population is minimal or absent, so that the gene frequency differences are maintained or not diminished. If you go through that definition, we can come across some important characteristics. One is a race is nothing but a group of people. That is the first characteristic. Second one is there will be reproductive isolation. Third one is gene frequency differences will be there, and it is purely a biological concept. This is about the concept of race.